All aboard and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Always Be Booked Cruise Cast show, coming to you not quite live from you know where, sunny, beautiful, vivacious, actually not that hot, thankfully, mercifully, not that hot, Boca Raton, Florida. Here we go. Okay, so we're doing it. We're doing something different here. Obviously, we were on video. We've had the video kind of thing going a little bit with the show with Tony, and we've been doing that a little bit more. And you guys know, by the way, check that out, Cruise Talk Weekly. We will be doing a show this week. Tony, as you guys may or may not know, is out there doing the inaugural thing with a whole bunch of other live streamers and vloggers and content creators in the cruise space. And you know, that's awesome. You're not gonna lie, you know, the FOMO does kick in a little bit. You do have a little bit of FOMO with that type of thing. This is so bizarre for me, by the way. As you guys know, I'm not necessarily Captain Video out here, but you know, there's only one thing that you can do to try to normalize that for yourself, is to get your reps in. You know what I mean? Get your reps in. I'm not used to looking at you. You're not used to looking at me. And we're going to get through it. You know, we'll continue to do it. Hopefully, you know, I'd like to get a little bit more serious about kind of like putting out some YouTube content, whether it's in this style format, which is basically just a video version of the Always Be Booked Cruise podcast, or maybe doing some clips, or maybe doing, you know, you've seen the vlogs before, but, you know, all the things, head to house, keep it out. If you guys want to join the Facebook group, we have a Facebook group. It is the Always Be Booked Cruise and Travel Lounge. It's a group on Facebook where we love to have you. We would absolutely love to. I don't know. I'm not going to look in the camera the whole time. All right? Don't yell at me. Those of you who are driving, listening on audio, this is not pertaining to you. But yeah, me and the video viewers are having a moment here. I don't know whether to look at you. You're going to look at me. I don't know what's happening, but I don't care. The goal is to just try to get more comfortable doing this. That's all. But yes, we have a Facebook group. It's the Always Be Booked Cruise and Travel Lounge. It's on Facebook. You got to be a member, so you got to request to be in. But you join, we let you right in. You know, just don't start any problems, and we'll be fine. That's what it is. So, I have a Patreon, patreon.com/alwaysbebooked, and that is a way for you to support this show. It's also a way for you to get an extra couple of shows a month, and, you know, we'll do a lot of other stuff in that. We'll do some cruise stuff, but we'll do some more personal stuff. If you guys don't know, I opened up a business called The Chop Shop in West Palm Beach. It's a to-go restaurant in a gas station that's doing pretty well. It's getting going. We're not where we need to be by any stretch. I don't want to paint that picture or give you that narrative, but it is getting better, and the reviews are phenomenal, and things are going well in that regard. But we talk about that. We talk about, you know, what it's like to be driving on the streets in Uber Eats. We talk about a lot of things. So personal, sometimes I overshare. Sometimes I overshare, which is... some people like it, some people don't. I do share worldviews. I try not to get too political at all. And if I do get political, I tread lightly. Let's just say that. But yeah, patreon.com/alwaysbebooked, $5 a month. Also, right here, we got the YouTube channel, Always Be Booked on YouTube. If you want to book a cruise, let me know. Mention it in the Facebook group. So we're having some problems lately. I'm having some problems with my email. I involuntarily or unknowingly canceled my own email, what would you call it, hosting service, or my old I didn't realize that, you know, because I was using that, I said this already, I was using Rocket Money. I canceled things. I was trying to be budget conscious. I tried to cancel the things I don't need. Turns out I canceled some of the things I do need. And now it's a little bit of a complicated process to get that back up and running. We're working on it. Stand by. Patience is the key. But yes, Always Be Booked is a travel agency as well. If you're interested in that, in exploring travel opportunities with me, you can do that. That's another great way to support the show. The best way to support the show is to share it with like-minded people who like cruising, who like podcasts, who like travel, who like cruising travel podcasts. That's probably the, you know, if we're talking about the Venn diagram, everybody fits into that one. We're real strong in the travel, cruise, and podcast market here. All right. I mentioned before the Star Princess, right? So Tony And a lot of people, I'm watching Tony and Doug run around, and yeah, I'm getting a little bit of the FOMO. They don't let me on these things. They don't let me anywhere near these things. Of course, Princess isn't going to let me, right? I've never even been anywhere near a Princess cruise ship, so that would make sense. But it is nice. It is refreshing to see the boys hanging out and some of the other content creators. It really does look cool. It is a Sphere-class cruise ship. What it's going to do is it's going to... See, this is the part where I don't know what to do. Since I got the video going, normally right there when I got kind of tripped up a little bit, I would have done the old proverbial edit, but we are going to power through. So this ship has a capacity of 4,300 people. It's got a length of 1,133 feet, and there's a gross tonnage of 175. So this is basically... you got to realize it falls under the Carnival umbrella. And when they build these ships, they build them in classes. And classes of ships don't necessarily, from the guest standpoint, a class of ships is categorized under each of their individual corporations. But when you're talking about building out ships company-wide, Carnival Corporation-wide, a class of ship, as it pertains to the shipbuilder, can span across multiple brands. And I believe this would be the equivalent to an Excel class cruise ship when you're talking about the hull design and the general specifications. Is that true? Could be making that up. Because 43, I think it's true though. I do believe that this is 175 seems familiar with the XL class. But they had the inaugural. Looked really cool. You see Tony and Doug running around, like I mentioned. You had Matthew McConaughey on hand. He's got his tequila. I saw some people talking about, Matthew McConaughey. And why is Matthew McConaughey, ramming his tequila down your throat? And why is there a ceremony where they're celebrating the tequila and they're breaking the bottle of tequila over the bow of the ship? Why can't Matthew McConaughey just show up and play by the rules and we do regular champagne? Well, the reason, guys, and I think most of us know this, and the truth is that Matthew McConaughey probably isn't getting off his couch to do this unless we're going to help out with the tequila brand. That's what I think. I don't think that Matthew McConaughey got involved with this and said, hey, by the way, I have a tequila. And then Carnival said, wow, even better. We didn't know that. Yeah, listen. No, this whole thing is done through a PR agency, public relations agency. And this whole thing was set up from the beginning to do exactly what it did, to promote Matthew McConaughey and his tequila brand. Do I have that information 100%? No, but I do believe that to be true. There was an amazing drone show. These drone shows are getting beautiful / terrifying. I mean, they look so realistic. They look multi-dimensional. They look 3D. They look phenomenal. A lot of these drone shows they're popping up all over. Now, they're not a lot of times without problems. If you've seen any of these drone shows, you do hear about an accident, every once in a while. Sometimes drones are used for other things. That's the last thing you want, a drone show going on somewhere, and it's supposed to be entertaining people over a beach. Next thing you know, Galveston, Texas is under attack. We don't want that, and I don't think we're going to have that, but, the drones are out of control. The AI is out of control. That's a whole separate topic, show, and genre of things to cover, but the drone show looked absolutely beautiful. There was a little bit of a surprise performance, I believe, from Sheryl Crow. Phenomenal artist she is. I remember when she burst onto the scene, all I want to do is have some fun. I'm not the only one. This whole bit. She is, what a talented woman she is. And that must have been really, really cool to see Sheryl Crow just pop up out of nowhere on the stage on a Princess cruise ship during the inaugural. How am I doing? I don't know. I'm not like, if you're listening, I don't know if you could tell that I'm being videotaped. I try to kind of keep a cool little level head here and try to communicate you directly as if this was a podcast. And oh, by the way, there is video. And I have to find myself continuously telling myself that. But here we are. It is what it is. The ship is going to, we're talking about the Star Princess, is going to do 7-night sailings out of Fort Lauderdale. And she's going to travel to the Bahamas and the Caribbean. And, man, I got to get on a princess ship. I got to get on a Celebrity. I do believe Celebrity is going to be the one I end up on first because of, I don't know why. But I think that, the things I've heard about Celebrity is that it is a little bit more of a bridge. If you're looking for that energy, if you're looking for some nightlife, if you're looking for a cocktail forward, experiential forward ship or cruise line, I'm hearing that Celebrity is probably the way to go in that regard. I don't know. You let me know in the Facebook group while we have no email. Always Be Booked Cruise and Travel Lounge. But I hear Princess is phenomenal when it comes to the service. I hear there's nothing to be desired for. You want for nothing when you're on a Princess ship. But I do hear it's a little bit sleepy. It's a little bit geared towards older clientele, which probably are entering into my age range. But I don't act my age, and that's what it is. So Celebrity XL, not to be outdone while we're speaking of the devil, they also just got to Port Everglades, and they will be sailing from there as Celebrity's brand spanking new shiny hardware. We know that Celebrity has the Edge class and then the Edge Plus class, and this is, they were made famous by the infinite veranda balconies. I would love to know what those are like. I hear so many mixed reviews. I hear it's so cool because you're outside but you're inside at the same time. But then I hear that you don't really feel like you have a balcony cabin. Multiple different perspectives when it comes to the infinity verandas on Celebrity. But the XL is the latest iteration of that particular class of cruise ships. She's approximately 66 feet longer than most of the Edge Apex ships, and includes one extra deck. It also includes 179 more staterooms, and that's 12% more by volume in general. Around 81% of its accommodations are balcony equipped. Solo traveler friendly. We'll talk about solo traveling in a little while as it pertains to Norwegian. You've probably heard some good, bad, and indifferent about that. But there are more infinite veranda style staterooms, which, as we mentioned, blur the indoor and outdoor living situation. And they are doing the sustainability thing. The ship is methanol ready, meaning its propulsion system is designed to operate on multiple fuel types: marine diesel, liquefied natural gas, and methanol. So they're not going to be using methanol right away. But they will have the LNG and they will have the regular marine diesel. The marine diesel was the standard, then they went to LNG. But many people challenged as to whether or not LNG was as green and as sustainability friendly as advertised, because they say, yeah, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It solves a bunch of problems, but it creates a bunch of different problems. So people are getting past LNG. There's a bunch of brand new public spaces and that are themed out. You have the Bazaar, which is a 3-level immersive space where the ship's decor, food, and activities and entertainment are all on display. You have Bora, which is a rooftop alfresco restaurant. I always say I want more of that. I always want more alfresco dining on cruise ships. You used to not have it at all. And then Norwegian came through with the Breakaway and Breakaway Plus class ships. And I believe it was the Waterfront, right? They designed that. And those are indoor, outdoor restaurants across the board. So I love that. They have the Celebrity Pool Club, a pool deck space with valet service. So this will be, basically it's a pool deck, but they will have areas where you can kind of upgrade for and get a little bit exclusivity. You can get some sort of like a lot of the features that you would get, like cabana style features that you can kind of upgrade and pay for. Attic at the club. It's an adult only entertainment lounge featuring, see, when they say that, you got to be careful, because I've been saying it for a long time, there should be strip clubs at sea, and I don't know if you agree with that or not, but when you say adult-only entertainment, a lot of people's minds, or my mind is going to go there, but I don't know what you think. But this is the Attic at the Club. It's the adults-only entertainment lounge featuring retro arcade games. Okay, big difference where my mind was going, and then they're talking about Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. So yeah, it's a little bit different. Private event bookings. They have the karaoke. They have a golf simulator. A big departure from standard bars and lounges. So it's basically an interactive place to do activities and have drinks. Expanded wellness spa. They have a lot of retail shops and innovative retail shops, ways to separate you from your money. 32 distinct food and beverage venues are promised. A larger entertainment cast, over 75 resident performers, new theater shows, 3 newly produced shows, and enhanced technology. LED walls, laser effects. You guys remember, they did that on Royal Caribbean's Quantum Class. That's kind of where it started. And then on the Edge as well, they continued it as they did it in the 270 Lounge and Eden and places like that. So, yeah, it's robotics, it's monitors, it's projection, it's high-level technology when it comes to entertainment. They continue the signature features of the Edge class, but enhance them. The magic carpet, the moving cantilevered platform on the side of the ship used for dining, and they have some surprises for the magic carpet and the Sunset Bar, the ever so popular Sunset Bar, which I cannot wait to experience. Aft portion of the ship, some cocktails overlooking the beautiful wake, looking the beautiful horizon and the sun and the sets and rises and all that stuff. I definitely hear so many great things about the Sunset Bar. I cannot wait for that. All right, moving on. Big shout out to Ocho Rios, Jamaica. We know that there's been problems. We know that the hurricane has ravaged that beautiful island nation, and our hearts are all with these places. My heart is always with these places. I don't know. I'm a big personification guy, and you don't really have to be a personification guy or girl when it comes to this stuff, because there are people on the island. But I'm talking about the islands themselves. I just get very, very, whether it's a living being or an inanimate object, I just have such a special bond with these places that have brought me so much joy over the years that, when you talk about hurricanes and natural disasters of any kind, you just get very, very, just depressed over what they're going to go through. And I was listening to the weather there and the Caribbean weather, and it was interesting. And I just thought, even Florida, Florida gets battered and ravaged by hurricanes a lot. But what do they tell you in Florida when you're going to experience a hurricane? They tell you, get out, board up the windows and get out. I was listening to this particular broadcast about the Caribbean weather and what they were telling people to do in Jamaica. Guys, there is no get out when it comes to Jamaica. There's no drive to safety when it comes to Jamaica. I mean, you could say run to the hills, but they're warning of landslides. So it's just pray. That's all you can do. And the advice I was listening to this weatherman say in the comfort of his studio, and I'm not knocking him, because what can he do? But he's saying basically, what's the advice? If you have any pots and pans in the house, put them on your head. See, that's not advice we get here in Florida. That's not advice we get stateside. If you have pots and pans in your house, put them on your head. As ridiculous as it sounds, okay, well, that's what you have available to you, so that's what he's saying to do. He also said if you do experience some calm in the middle of this, if things seem to slow down, die down, basically what you're experiencing is the eye of the storm. In that regard, you will have 20 to 40 minutes to reset. If you want to find another mattress to pull off the bed and hold on top of you while who knows what blows through your home, who knows if you have a roof or not. Guys, and I'm not trying to be negative or a Debbie Downer here. It's just that, it's very sobering when it comes to what their options are, and it's very, very sad, and reality sets in real quick. They do not have options. So kudos to them for going through it. I know it was awful. I know it was horrible. I know people lost loved ones. But the point of this story is that Ocho Rios is back. They are opening any day now if they're not open already. And they plan to get all the other ports of call open up in the next couple of weeks or so. And yeah, you know, you want to say two things. You want to say, hey, yeah, you want to applaud their resiliency, but you also have to realize that's their money. You know what I mean? They don't have a choice. You know, if they want to be able to have the resources to recover from this type of thing, they absolutely have to get these tourist destinations, starting with the cruise lines and the all-inclusive resorts, up and running again. And I was talking to Tony, and it was crazy because you do see people who were there, and they were, whether they were stuck there or whether they just flew in or whatever. But, you know, the audacity of some people where they're kind of like, you know, walking around and expecting this and mad because they don't have their 3 to 5 star breakfast. It's just crazy. Like, I get it. You paid your money. I do understand. But there's a humanitarian factor to all this stuff. And, you know, you have to realize these are extenuating circumstances. It's sort of like when you're talking about cruising and, you know, you have to make an itinerary change or you got to do something different, or, you know, this is a complicated vacation, a complicated style of travel with a lot of different moving parts. And you and your family and whoever you're traveling with have to be ready for that, in my opinion. But bottom line on this regard is kudos to Jamaica and a way to bounce back. And, you know, that's all you could say. And they hadn't had anything that bad in a while. So, you know, they weren't really probably ready for something like that. When you talk about the hurricanes, you know, the Bahamas, the Virgin Islands, they're like that front line of defense for anything coming across over from Africa. And they're kind of used to it, as not that it's not just as devastating over there, but Jamaica is usually kind of out of the path, but not this time. So prayers continued, and kudos to the residents, and good for you for getting back into the mix and, you know, just showing the resiliency that you have showed. All right, let's talk about Norwegian. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to Norwegian because they're doing a lot. They're doing too much, dare I say, or as the kids say. A gentleman by the name of David Herrera was their CEO. And very, very unceremoniously, and we know whenever there's a change at CEO, at the position of CEO with a lot of these cruise lines, we are alerted to it. There is a reason. There's a gold watch. There's a retirement party, or, you know, there's pomp and circumstance for the new person coming in. It's usually a good thing and something to be celebrated because somebody did a great job and they're riding off into the sunset and being patted on the back. This is not that. So David Herrera was removed, or he left, one or the other. But he was the highly anticipated, well-celebrated CEO. And then in a report to the SEC a couple of months ago, Norwegian just announced that he's no longer with us. Yeah, we're not going forward with David Herrera anymore. And Harry Summer, who was in that position, but now is overseeing all of Norwegian, the corporation, he stepped back temporarily to fill that role. And the only reason I bring that up is because Norwegian has been going over a lot of changes. And why is he not there anymore? And they were saying that, you know, Norwegian, initially you were hearing a lot of things about Norwegian with the Prima class coming out and that type of thing, and then the Viva and all those ships, and now Aqua. And you were hearing about them trying to go to a level that was going to, you know, really almost flirt with a premium cruise line. You know, you heard them say, we're not going to lower prices. Prices are going to be going up. The experience is going to be going up. We're going to build ships that have a lower guest count per square footage ratio. That type of thing. It was going to be a little bit more of a premium product and a luxury brand. And it seemed like David Herrera was going to be the guy to kind of lead that up. Now, I always say it. Corporations, people like money. And when people get money, you would think, okay, you know what? I got some money. That feels good. I'm satisfied. All that does with the money is make you want more money. Hey, if I just made this, what if I did this and I can make that? Where does it stop? Maybe I'm just on this magic money carpet ride where it doesn't stop. And I think that's what happened here again. I think Norwegian started making some money after the pandemic, and then they started doing really, really well. And while their initial feeling was to maybe focus on the guest experience and quality, they realized, hey, maybe, you know what, they made some concessions. We could do that, but then we could also cut costs and make more money. Win-win, right? Anyway, you know, I looked around at speculation and people were saying that, and it's not substantiated. So anything you hear on this show, unlike a lot of the shows like Cruise Radio and, you know, things like that, they're followed up on, they're fact-checked and verified. That's not what you get here. You don't get facts here. You get speculation. You get rumors. That's what you get here. And I'm hearing that, you know, I'm seeing in certain circles that they were cutting costs too much for David Herrera's liking, and he wasn't necessarily drinking the Kool-Aid of the nickel and dime as much as a lot of the quote-unquote beards on the upper boardrooms wanted him to. So that's what happened, and then they kind of just were at odds, and he left, and they went in a different direction, which happens. But, you know, the more at sea versus free at sea. You know, Norwegian always had a very, very popular program called Free at Sea, where I love it because you can kind of like do what we always wanted to do with cruising, you know, and which we've gotten away from a little bit in a lot of ways. Is with cruising, we always seem to know what our cost in cruising passed. We always knew what we were going to spend to a degree. Of course, you could do some upgrades, but there's so many different bells and whistles and experiences and pay-to-play stuff going on in cruising now that you really don't know what that bill is gonna look like when you get off the ship. Free at sea was always something that would combat that, you know, because what's the biggest expense? The drink package, if you're going to get the drink package. And if you are a drinker like myself, you know that if that can be taken care of and that expense can be eliminated, that's going to really chip away at any cruise bill you might have remaining at the end. And, you know, you like that, but there were some issues with that. I think there were things like, okay, there was super premium drinks and, you know, is water involved? Is coffee involved? Then what's going on with the internet? I mean, the internet thing is crazy because you either want internet on a cruise or you don't. The 160 minutes is not going to do it for you. So what the 160 minutes enables you to do is to be able to act like you're giving free internet. But at the end of the day, the free internet portion of that is not great because you're going to have to buy the internet package anyway. And then what else do they have? They have another thing that's the shore excursions. So $50 for guest one. So it's $50 per stateroom, and that goes towards guest one. Guest two, let's not be guest two, right? If you want to be in the stateroom, just make sure you're going to be guest one so you could take advantage of it. And I'm sure, yeah, maybe you split the money, you work it out. I'll buy the drinks, I'll buy the whatever it out, the cab fare there, whatever it is. But either way, it's interesting. It's interesting how they find ways to kind of, I don't want to repeat the phrase over and over again, but that's what it is. It is a little bit of a nickel and diming situation that we're all accustomed to a degree. But then when it goes to this level, it's crazy. But anyway, they went back. They changed it to more at sea, where I think that there was a bunch of different packages that you could choose from, and you could upgrade the drink packages, and you could upgrade you could upgrade your drink. There was a bunch of things. Here's the problem. And shout out to a gentleman like Doug Parker, because I'll say it like this. Listen, if it's too convoluted and complicated for Doug to even have an interest in diving in, because I watched Doug's show, as you guys know, and he went on and he said, this is what's going on with free at sea versus more at sea. And then the very next day, he got on and said, I'm sorry, I botched the hell out of free at sea, that story. And then you're thinking, okay, it's Doug, so he's going to clear it up and see. But he didn't even do that. He said, if you really want to know what it is, go read the fine print. And that's not a knock at all. Kudos to Doug Parker for basically saying, go look it up. Because I swear, I tried to go and find. I watched a bunch of vloggers. I watched a bunch of content creators. I read up on it. And yes, it's not rocket science, but it's way more complicated than you would want it to be as far as what you want, how much brain power you want to exercise on it when it comes to your vacation, because it gets very, very complicated. You can get this, but then these drinks are not included, but you can pay for them, or the specialty dining. If you have a balcony, you get 2 nights. If you have an inside cabin, you get 1 night of specialty dining. It's out of control. They're really they're missing the boat here when it comes to why we vacation and the simplicity that we're looking for. Same thing with Carnival with the rewards program. It's not, none of this is supposed to be that complicated. And I don't know if it's by design. I don't know if sometimes they make it complicated on purpose so that they know people are going to give up and kind of like, well, you know what? Screw it, But it's just too much. So they're going back to more at sea. And I'm going to echo Doug Parker's sentiments, because I did spend a good 20, 30 minutes on this trying to figure out, all right, I want to be able to tell them exactly what the original Free at Sea was, what More at Sea went to, and then where is Free at Sea now 2.0, Free at Sea 2.0. And no, it's not something I'm going to spend any more time on. If you really, really want to know what Free at Sea is, doesn't matter what More at Sea was, okay? Just put that in the past. When you book a Norwegian cruise and they offer you Free at Sea, just look exactly and see what you're getting. Yeah, it's not completely free because you have to pay the gratuities on a daily basis. I think taxes are in there too. And I think I heard they took away the shore excursion thing if you're not in a balcony, but then I heard they didn't. It's way too much, guys. It's way too much. And then, yeah, the specialty dining. When do you get your specialty dining? It depends on what category of stateroom you're in. That dictates how much specialty dining you get. It's not good. It's not good, and I'm sorry. I love Norwegian, and I will never not sail Norwegian. But we're going to call it like we see it. It's the truth. They also announced that they're going to be doing less solo cabins, and I don't know how you feel about that, because, yeah, just a couple of years ago, they were announcing that they were going to be the most solo cruising friendly cruise line out there. And now they're saying that we're going to scale back from solo cabins. And what does that mean? Because Norwegian solo cabins, a lot of people, I think right away, they think the studio staterooms and the studio lounge and all the activities that they do. I can tell you right now, when I went on the breakaway the first time, it was an exemplary program. They really should do it. Now, if they don't do it anymore, which I don't think they do, there's a reason for that. And they're not dumb. They know what they're doing. And you know what? It may not have been as popular as I liked it, but it really, when I went on one of my first solo cruises, they really were, pardon my French, but up your ass about showing up at the events. The guy's name was Romeo. He was phenomenal at what he did. He had a meeting every day, a solo meeting in the solo lounge. All right. We got to talk about it. These kick streamers. I don't even know what a kick streamer is. All I do know is that we have entered into a world of streaming that can be looked at as overly toxic. I'm not mentioning these guys' names. I'm not mentioning their platforms. Not that you were going to run to them anyway, but there really is disruptors out there. And I call it disruption or nuisance streaming, or it's like a genre. It's like there's people out there doing this now, and people are kind of misinterpreting this whole situation. People are misinterpreting the whole story. A sizable group, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, whatever it was, and I didn't mean to go 6, 7, because that's another thing, the 6, 7 thing. Listen, get off my lawn and stay off my lawn, okay? That's what it is. That's all I'm talking about. So there is these streamers that went on Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas. Guys, they went on this cruise to get kicked off. And if not to get kicked off, to push it to the very limits of what they can do before they got kicked off. There was a a streamer, I think his name is Jack Doherty. He set the model for this. Maybe a couple of years ago, he got kicked off a cruise ship in Nassau and he had to fly back. Guys, this was the plan the whole time. Now, I don't know if they got, so what happened was they got kicked off, they got into a fight. So there were a couple of guys, they were streaming together, they got on the cruise together, they had girls, they were a couple of guys, and these two fellas got into a fist fight. I mean, a real fight, punching each other in the face, real fight. Now, could this be fake? It could be fake. It could have been fake. But these are the types of guys in their just idiocy. And they're out there, guys. There's a whole new thing out there right now where people live their lives online. They have the tripods everywhere they go. And what they do is no matter what, they don't realize what reality and what, fake world they're living in. And they constantly talk. You'll hear them say, chat. You hear them say the word chat. They're literally speaking to their audience in real time as if, you're home and you're watching and you're kind of in the room with them. What should I do, chat? Chat. You believe this guy? Chat this, chat that. And listen, I don't get it. I'm not supposed to get it. I think it's disturbing, to be honest with you. But it is out there, and it is something that is happening. So these guys are out there. They're on a Royal Caribbean Harmony of the Seas cruise ship, and they're being a nuisance streamers. I think that's what they're called. I think it's the actual genre. And they bother people who are trying to watch shows. They have the cameras out at all times. Now, this is going to present a little bit of an issue for cruise lines because, we talk about streamers and there's a lot of cruising content creators out there, and they're going to have to come up with policy on people filming because there has never been a time in the existence of life when it's been like, yeah, people don't want their children taken, videos taken or photos taken of their children. But if they happen to be in the video and it's not intended to capture them and they're just kind of background, B-roll, whatever, there usually hasn't been an issue with it. But now what you're getting into is with all these streamers that are out there and all the cameras and all the actual content and footage, you're going to have people that are going to be more sensitive to whether it's their parents, their friends, themselves, their children, anybody. Hey, man, I don't want to be in your stupid show. I don't care if I'm passing by. I don't care if you're trying to get me or you're not trying to get me in. I don't want to be in your show. Now, can they do anything about that? Do they have any recourse with that? I don't know. But again, getting back to these idiots, they got into a legitimate fight in the smoking section at night, and they started beating the crap out of each other. Now, that could go either way. This could be completely fake for the clicks, or, if you watch these guys, they are that dumb. They are dumb enough, and they are the type of idiots that actually could have gotten into a real fight with each other as friends, where they're punching the shit out of each other as friends on this cruise ship. But, the question I'm seeing everybody ask is, should they have been kicked off? Were they known? Were they told about the policy? What they did, is that warranting being sent off a cruise ship? Guys, this was their desired result. If you saw, and I looked into it a little bit, the postscript, they're in a hotel room celebrating about all the content. Yeah, him and his, I guess the girlfriend was mad. Why? Why is she mad? Of course, why? Because she paid for the cruise. So she's annoyed that she got kicked off. And he's saying, what are you worried about? We got this great content. This was phenomenal. And the guys made up after the fight. They're okay. They're fine. But this is the world we live in now, guys. But don't think for a second. Don't be fooled and think that this was not completely 100% on purpose for the views, for clicks. This is our world right now. God help us. It's what it is. But yeah, they absolutely should have been kicked off, and they were. And yes, it is going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. Are people going to establish policy? Are the cruise lines going to establish policy? Because this was crazy. You saw some of the visuals on this. They had 9 phones. It's crazy because they don't even know what to do. They're about to get into a fight with each other, right? They're about to fight each other over something completely dumb. Who knows? But at the same time, their life is online. So they can't put down the phones. So they're streaming, but then they're fighting. So they don't know, should I put the phone down so I can win the fight? But no, because the phones have to be still there so I can show the fight. Should I hit them with the phone and then win the fight? It is a bizarro world out there. And it is just kind of showing a little bit of a societal decline, because these, again, are not the people that you can blame. These are not the people to blame. Who you blame is what causes it. And the cause of it is that there is a market out there that will watch this. That's the root of the problem. You always had Jerry Springer in the 90s and stuff like that, early 2000s. But that was just really like a guilty pleasure. People would turn that on and then forget about it. These guys are doing this stuff 24/7. And this is the modern day Jerry Springer, except Jerry Springer was over in 58 minutes. These guys are constant, and there's many, many, many of them with big audience, and they got a big audience too. So is what it is. Virgin Voyages has announced, so we know all the problems that are going on as far as the flights and the government shutdown, which we hear hopefully that it may be coming to an end. But there was an interesting thing. I saw another streamer or vlogger or whatever it was, and there's a lot of them out there right now, and it's just a lot of wackiness. But, you know, they were kind of giving Virgin a lot of kudos for basically saying what other cruise lines aren't saying. You know, and the Virgin Voyages basically came out and said, if your cruise was affected by any flight cancellations, meaning if you couldn't get to the sailing, we will give you a future cruise credit. And that is unheard of, because you know one thing when it comes to the cruise lines and the cruise contract, it doesn't matter who's dying, doesn't matter who's dead, doesn't matter what the situation is. If that cruise is paid for and you have to cancel past the penalty, unless there's some crazy insurance situation, if you're completely insured or some clause that you had, you are going to pay for that cruise. In an unprecedented situation, Virgin Voyages has come out and said, if you can prove to us that you had a flight that was canceled and you could not get to this cruise because of whatever reasons, the flight cancellation, ultimately the government shutting down, we will give you a full future cruise credit. And yes, 100% all day we should and have to commend them for that. Kudos to them for doing that. But we have to realize the one reason that they are doing that is because they can, right? Virgin Voyages is able to. They're not giving you money back. They're giving you a future cruise credit. Because why? They're not going to get your onboard spending money on this cruise because you're not going to be able to go. So they still want that money. But the problem with the other cruise lines is that they're sold out, or they know they will be sold out. What this basically says, and again, kudos to Virgin Voyages for doing it, but what they're saying is that they have the available rooms, you know, and that's what kind of like always just makes me just wonder/worry about Virgin Voyages as a product. I want to see them make it. I want to see them win. I want to see them thrive. They are an outlier. They are a disruptor in the industry, and I want them to win. But that's what it tells me. The only reason that they are doing that is because they can. They know that they are going to have inventory that is unsold, and they're going to be able to give you, and you know, why not? Why not? You'll say, why are they giving? Because they'll have open rooms. So it's one choice is just don't give the money back and lose all the onboard spending that's going to happen, or keep the money, put them on another sailing, and retain the onboard spending. Of course, it's the smart play in multiple ways. It makes you look good, but also, like I said, you have the inventory that's available. So that's why they are going to be able to do that. I'm going to cut this one short here, guys. Not short, but because of it being the first video, we hopefully did okay. You know, I do appreciate you guys watching and listening and or listening. You guys are the best. Boat drinks, cones.